was able to get to 25,000. And then he was able to increase the 25,000. We really pushed him, keep going, to get to 100,000. And then the 100,000, he was able to get to a $200,000 offer. And now we're working on $1 million offer right now.
All right, how's it going, agency owners? Welcome to another episode of How to Scale an Agency. I'm your host, Cassata, co-founder of Revenue Boost. And today I have my good friend, Mandi Ellefson, back for a part two. Some of you guys might realize, but we had Mandi on the podcast 2 weeks ago to talk through her stages of growth on exactly how to go from 0 to 10 million in a very systematic way. Mandi just recently released her new book, The Hands-Off CEO. And this is exactly what she helped consulting agencies with. And I was so blown away by the value she shared last time. I had to have her back for part two. And today we're going to just really recap the 5 stages of growth and what to do at each revenue level. But then we're going to get right into offer creation, because one of the things that really stood out about Mandi was her clients are getting paid 5, 6, even 7 figures. Even just before this call, she was working with a client on creating $1 million offer. And I know for some of you guys listening, that might just be like mind-boggling, and you might be like, how is that even possible? But just know that it is possible, and we're going to talk about how. People will pay anything if there's enough value. And without further ado, I want to just give it off to Mandi and just say, welcome to the show. Welcome back.
Hey, thanks so much. Thanks so much for having me back, AJ. I think we had a really great conversation, and I love our conversations because I know that the work that we do fits so well with the work that you guys do with the marketing channels, cold outreach, and how you're able to really ramp up the lead growth for your clients. So the better the offer, the easier that is to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's one thing I've learned. When I started Revenue Boost, we really got into the leads, the sales, but quickly we realized these guys all need help with their offers, right? Most agencies, they sell SEO, they sell websites, they sell consulting, they sell this and that, and they don't really have an offer. They have a service, they don't have an offer, right? So I've really realized how important that is to craft that offer. And everyone listening, you guys have probably heard the importance of creating that irresistible offer, right? Especially because it became mainstream after Alex Hormozi released that book, $100 million offers, right? That really just blew up. So, but then the question is how do I make my offer better? Do I add more stuff in it? Do I take stuff away? How can I increase my price, right? How can I increase my price while it's still valuable to the client? There's all these questions that come up, right? So Mandi, before we get into offers, can you just really quick recap what were those stages from 0 to 10 million for anyone who missed the last episode?
Yeah. Well, so, I'm going to go really quickly just so we have more time to spend on the offers. I mean, we could literally spend hours on just the offers, but basically there are stages and plateaus that happen as you're scaling up to $10 million plus in a consulting agency. And at these plateaus, you can be stuck at these plateaus anywhere for like 1, 2, 3 years. Basically, what you had done to get to that point is no longer working to get to the next point. There are different things that you can be doing. By the way, if anyone wants a free copy of my new book, for a limited time, I will give you a free copy. In one of the chapters, it talks through those different growth stages. I think it's chapter 4 or 5. So you can go through and you can see what the growth stages are and what you need to be doing at this stage. But I think the most valuable thing to be talking about is the actual subtitle of the book. So Hands-Off CEO, triple your fees and profitably scale a consulting agency that grows without you. A lot of people think that to be able to scale a consulting company, what happens is, or an agency, they're looking at it and saying, hey, you know what, I want to grow 50% this year. I want to grow 100% this year. Well, you know what, to be able to do that, I'm the bottleneck to this. So what we need to do is we need to make this, quote, more scalable. So what they do is they say, okay, we need to build more systems, and then build more systems, and build more systems, and build even more systems on top of that, right? They go and hire this leader, hire that leader. We need to get this operations person in place, all these things. And here's the thing is that while these 3 aspects of that, it's not that it's incorrect. You do need to make your company scalable. You do need to hire an operations leader that can help you run the company. You do need to build more systems, but you're doing it all in the wrong order. So here's the thing is that maybe I'll just quickly lay out how this actually should fit together. Is that you do need to build more systems, but the systems actually need to be driven by the right direction to scale your company. So if you're building systems in isolation of what is the actual direction to grow the company, then you are building the wrong systems. And by the way, if you're the one building the systems, you're doing it all wrong. It should be your operations leader who's building the systems. And if you're hiring an operations leader and you're not clear on what the best way is to grow the company, then you're missing out on a tremendous amount of growth, and you're focusing on the completely ass backwards way of growing. to be focusing on scale first, because what you're doing is you're essentially saying, you know what, we care about our scale, to hell with what our clients need. I know that's kind of a bold statement, but really, like, your clients don't care about your scale. Your clients don't even care about your profit. Your clients, they care about the results that they get. And they only care about your agency if you're going to be able to generate results that are going to be very interesting and enticing to them. And the problem is most agencies don't actually deliver results that are that enticing, and they know it. And they really struggle to bring in good quality leads, good quality clients, because they blow this one most important question. The unspoken question that every prospect has is, all right, if we invest with you for, you know, say a year, how is my company going to look different?
Yeah.
That's the question that they're asking, that they're not actually telling you.
Right.
How they ask this question is like, they might say, well, you know, what kind of results can we get working with you? And then what is the response to that, AJ? What is always the response to that?
Yeah. When, you know, when a client says, what kind of results can I get? It's like, well, I'm not sure. It depends on all these things. We've had some clients that have done this,
it
done
depends.
that. Yeah, it depends. Exactly. Yeah.
It depends. It depends. So they blow the question here. They blow it with saying it depends. Here's the thing is, of course it depends, but you get to choose what it depends. Like, when you are a true expert, when you can say what it depends upon. It depends on their price point. It depends on their sales cycle. It depends on the leadership. It depends on all sorts of different things, right?
Yeah.
It can depend on the industry. It can depend on how long the company has been in business. But here's the thing is that what if we just stacked our odds and say, well, it does depend on these factors, and we're choosing to only create results at, you know, $1 million plus a year. We don't do anything less than this. I was just talking to a client earlier today, and I said, what's the bare minimum results that you're going to be creating with a client? Well, the bare minimum is 3 to 5 million a year, bare minimum. So when you know what your minimum is, now you can work backwards and say, well, what is it going to take for us to create that result? Who do we need to work with? And what are the things that they need to have in place? What are the conditions for success that we need to create and be responsible for?
Yeah.
When someone says it depends, really what it means is that I'm not willing to be responsible for what it depends upon. Yeah. And you know what? You pay us the money, we'll roll the dice and we'll see how it goes. How compelling is that?
Yeah, it sounds great, right? Sign me up.
Well, this is the agency world. And for some reason, it's like such a foreign concept to really stand by results and make bigger offers, make bigger claims. I mean, you know, when I went and paid our builder for the outcome of building us a beautiful home that functionally works, if that roof is leaking and if he doesn't come and fix that roof, like, he's going to get sued. You know, other industries, they have to stand by results. But for some insane reason, in the professional services world, we can just wash our hands clean of this and say, well, you know what? We'll see how it goes, but it's all on you.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not necessarily just talking about results. I'm talking about expanding. I'm talking about thinking bigger and looking at what does it take to be able to create results that we have never created yet. And that starts with looking at what have we done in the past. So if we're looking at our top 5% of case studies, maybe it's looking at that and saying, hey, you know what are we seeing as a trend? Are they B2B? Are they B2C? Are they retail? Are they, like, every agency has their own sweet spot. They have their own profit sweet spot. And we've worked with hundreds of agencies. I've also had the pleasure of, you know, consulting with thousands of them. But I can see that every single agency has an ability. They can have their own profit sweet spot. And there's a formula to get to this profit sweet spot that allows you to triple your fees. Maybe I should have led with that. So here's the thing is that those listening to this and saying, well, you know, that sounds great, but you know what, that's expensive, that's hard, that's a lot of innovation, and it is. But is it worth it if you could triple your fees? Is it worth it if you could be doing, a little bit more work for 300% higher price point, or even 10 times higher price point? These are not unreasonable numbers. I guess everything that we do is rather unreasonable, but they are very normal for what we see with our clients.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at a triple fee, then all of that extra amount that your client is investing is pure profit. So you're not looking at a 300% increase in profit. You're looking at vastly higher percent increase in profit.
Because there's the fixed cost of managing the account and doing some of the base things. So basically what I'm hearing you say from that last part, and there's a lot I want to touch back on this, but that last part I just want to clarify. You're saying that, okay, if I want to triple my fees, that doesn't mean I triple my profits. That means I could even 10x my profit, because there's much more profit in this,
Yes.
in that zone of 1K to 10K a month, right? Which makes perfect sense. And that's what you're saying, right?
Well, and here's the thing is that even a 10% increase in pricing can double your profits.
Wow.
So for example, let's run through the numbers quickly, if that would be helpful.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's say you're doing a $10,000 service. You could also say 100,000, but we'll just start with 10,000. So let's do it. Say it's a $10,000 project that you're doing, and let's say that you currently have a 10% profit margin. By the way, lots of agencies listening to this may think that they have a higher than 10% profit margin. But when you actually take into consideration how much you're paying yourself or not paying yourself based on a market wage, you may find that you're actually negative profit. By the way, so just one thing, if you're feeling like 10% is not a very high profit margin, it's actually pretty high profit margin for a lot of agencies that we've seen. And that's one of the first things we go to fix with working with our clients, by the way, so that they get fully paid what they actually are worth. Anyway, so $10,000, let's say a 10% profit margin, they're making $1,000 on that. Let's say that you increase the fees 10%. So now you're charging $11,000. And now you have your costs haven't changed at all. So now you have $2,000 of profit. So now you have doubled your profit with the 10% price increase.
Yeah.
Now, if you tripled that, the numbers get really big really fast as far as the percentage of that. And then you multiply that across your clients. You run this in a spreadsheet, and you'll see your eyes will pop out of your head when you realize how few clients you actually need in order to reach your profit goals. And why this is important is that, so many agencies, when we say, well, what do you think you need to do to be able to scale your company? They think, oh, we need more clients. Let's say that they're working with 20 clients. We'll just say they're working with 20 clients right now. And it's not possible for them to even work with more than 22 clients right now. Their head's about to explode at 20 clients, and they're like, maybe they can bring on two more clients. So well, we just need to double the number of clients we have, and then we'll be able to double our profits. That's not exactly how, so the reality though is that you've hit up against your capacity level. The best way to be able to scale growth is not just by doubling. That's growth, and that's linear growth. So what we want to do is look at, well, what if we could create the same profit with a quarter of the clients? And now to be able to reach our goals, a lot of our clients, as we go through this irresistible offer intensive process with them, which is this 12-week program we take our clients through. And we especially take our clients below $1 million. They have to go through this program to qualify for our Scale to Freedom program, where we help them add millions of dollars of growth. This is the program we help them be able to triple their fees. So I hope I'm not sounding too promotional. I'm saying I just wanted to give context.
It's okay. Yeah,
where I'm talking about the case studies. So anyway, within this process at week 4, we go through and we do some simple profit modeling to help them look at what the numbers are and how many clients that they need to get to. Let's say that their profit goal is $500,000. So with their current pricing, to be able to reach $500,000 of profit, they may need 100 clients. It's just ridiculous the way that works. Now, with the irresistible offer that we walk them through it, up at this point, they're starting to see some light I had no idea early. I'm like, I don't know how we're going to make this happen, but like, I trust you. I can see the process. I can see you guys have dozens of case studies. You know what you're doing. I want this. And once they see this, they realize, wow, actually, I can reach my $500,000 profit goal, not with 20 clients, but actually with like 19 clients. So I actually can be reaching our goal with less clients. And when they look at that, they're like, well, maybe we can replace some of those lower level clients. That they realize that the capacity there, it makes more sense. So I just talked a lot about a lot of numbers right there, and maybe maybe I want to give everybody a second to breathe on that. Does that make sense, AJ?
It makes perfect sense. Yeah. And just to clarify for everyone listening, so a lot of really important gems in what you said there. And like, if you're listening to this and you're like, how do I do that? So first of all, what she's saying is, okay, yes, if I increase my price from 10K to 11K, and I'm not increasing like extra service, or I'm just innovating my process where I'm giving a better result or presenting it in a way where the result's clear, like that's just that's not 10% more profit. That's double the profit, right? And when you can go from 10K to 30K, you can imagine what happens. It's like insane, right? And it works the other way too. Let's say I have 50 clients that are paying $1,000 a month. Well, if I double to 100 clients a month, 100 clients paying $1,000 a month, that doesn't mean double the profit. That actually means sometimes less profit, because you're adding more operational complexity and more hands in the pie and more overhead, right?
Oh yeah.
So it's like they almost go in like completely different directions, right?
Becoming more sustainable is more important first, particularly for an agency. So become more sustainable, become more profitable. Then what happens is, when you have a really good irresistible offer in place that actually has the promise to give the client what they actually want to buy, and we can talk about that in a moment.
Yeah.
What that does is it gives you the cash flow. It gives you the profit to be able to actually hire the people to do the work, to do more of the work. And that's primarily the number one reason that keeps the CEO stuck in delivery, is actually a sales problem. Operations problems are actually caused in the sales process. Not enough cash flow, not enough profit, keeping the CEO stuck in the delivery. I could go on for a whole hour about why this is the case and how operational issues are caused from this. Most operations experts don't actually know this, so they give out advice that doesn't really fit the agency model.
Right.
Well, I'm not saying that there's not any value to it, because you do need systems in the business, but you need the right systems that are actually going to scale profits. And if you just hire more people who are building all the wrong systems or running the wrong systems in your company, all you're doing is you're just digging a hole in your profit.
Absolutely.
And you're actually eroding away your profits. So, some years go by, a company is building out this business in this way, and then they come to us at $1 million, 2 million, 3 million. They're like, profits decline. I don't know what's going on. And that's why. Because they're running their business in this wrong way. There are some really intelligent agency owners that will come to us much earlier than that and say, I want to build this the right way. We got to hire up these people, but I want to make sure that we're doing this the right way. Our income is at this level, and we want to be growing at least 100% year over year growth every year. What's the right way to do this?
I love it.
Would it make sense for us to talk about the profit sweet spot formula? I was talking about, I've alluded to this profit sweet spot formula. And this is how you actually get to this irresistible offer.
Yeah, I definitely would love to go into that formula. Just two things I want to emphasize. Oh, go ahead.
Sure.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No, please.
Yeah. So two things I want to emphasize to make sure it's clear for the audience before we go into that formula. And I love that we're going to get to more actionably, how do you do this? The things I want to emphasize about what you said is being more sustainable versus being more scalable. Because I think a lot of times we think, I need more systems. I need just one more person that's going to solve all my problems. No, you're just going to keep building upon this thing that's not really very efficient to begin with, right? And it really just kind of ties into like long-term vision and strategy, right? So when I'm hearing you talk about offers, I'm really hearing you talk about long-term vision and strategy. That's kind of what I'm at least taking from this, right? Because it's like, if you don't really know where you're going,
right,
and you haven't really thought about the next couple of years, and you're just trying to like keep surviving and keep adding more stuff on, then you might be in a place where you have to redo all that to get to the next level, right? So I love how we're talking about offers, but it's really touching into like the vision here, right?
And part of what goes on too here is that the vision is absolutely critical. It's the most important part of it too. But what I see happen a lot of times is that, and maybe you probably see this too, AJ, is that agency owners, it's like they're going on with like a horse with blinders. And maybe it's not even like blinders. They just simply do, it's even more than that. Like they have such a limited view of what's actually possible for them. So what happens is that they set a vision, but it's just like, it's so low compared to what they're actually what's actually possible. And because the vision is so low, because they're being, quote, reasonable. I want to be reasonable. So we're only going to, because we're only be reasonable, I only want to be able to, go from 1 million to 1.2 million in the next year because I want to be reasonable. But here's the problem is that, and by the way, that may be a good goal for some people. So I don't want to necessarily shoot that down, but if you go with reasonable and say, you know what, we're going to be increasing our fees, but you know what, I know that our clients already give us pushback, and we're eroding away at our profits because of inflation already. So we're going to have to increase our fees. But you know what, we're just going to go 10% because that's reasonable, right? And that like barely covers inflation. It doesn't actually cover inflation. So when you're looking at it this way, being reasonable is really damaging to your company. And the reason why people are doing this, they just don't think that, they don't know how to do it. It's like, it's what I call in our book, the how virus. The how virus keeps them from being able to see what's really possible.
Yeah.
And instead, it's looking at what can you actually create. And this really comes down to the stand that you want to take. What's the stand that you want to take in your industry? And do you want to become the top 1% in your industry? Do you really want to be that top 1%? Well, everybody says they want to become the top 1%, but the reality is that very few people are actually willing to do what that takes. The top 1% are the people who they are very quietly just dominating their industry and being flooded with the most ideal work and bringing on clients that are willing to pay double, triple, quadruple the amount because they are the very best. So here's what these companies do. This is what these companies do. So the profit sweet spot, there's 3 different pieces that you're looking at here. One painful problem. So we want to find a problem that's worth solving. I mean, I could solve the problem of like somebody's lawn is too long and I could go mow it. I could do that if I wanted to, but that's not a big enough problem for me to solve, right? And most agencies need to solve bigger problems, much, much bigger problems. And then the next piece is, so one painful problem for one specific client type. Now, I didn't say industry, I said client type, a client type within the industry. So a profit sweet spot within that. And that's not B2B companies. That may be industrial companies with 50 plus employees, industrial manufacturing companies, 50 plus people that want to exit in 5 years. That is a profit sweet spot client. And then one outcome, one really big, bold outcome. Not like, we're going to help you increase your traffic 20%. Because here's the thing is like, what if it's garbage traffic?
Yeah.
How do we know if that traffic is even going to generate sales? It's like, well, we can't control whether it's going to generate sales. Really? Is that true? You can control that if you choose not to work with, if you choose to work only with customers that have a functioning sales team. But if you choose to take on everybody with a pulse, then you're not going to be able to control it. It's going to depend on that. And by the way, that's fine. That's what most mediocre companies do. They do that, and they get what they get. And their clients gamble with making investments. So the way that they gamble is they say, hey, let's do a starter project. Let's try you guys out. So what we'll do is we're going to do this small, tiny project. And so they think about how much are they going to wager here? How much are they going to gamble? How much spaghetti are they going to throw against the wall to see if this works? So they give this teeny tiny investment, which is not enough money for the agency to actually prove their results. And maybe it's for a small period of time, not enough time to actually do anything real. And then they train the client to value their services really low. They haven't been, and now they're working their butt off to try to get enough of a result to get the client to upgrade to the next and to the next and the next. And this is what this looks like. I don't know. Have you seen this happen, AJ?
Oh, agencies? Absolutely. Yeah. I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of agencies, and yeah, it's the same thing, right? It's like that can totally shoot yourself in the foot, right? When you try to lower your price to just get the job, well, now the client sees you at that price, right? And I totally could understand where it comes from, because it's like, well, how do I make a 15K a month offer? How do I make 200K a year offer, or a 200K one project offer? And I think this really ties into client type, because it's like, if someone's listening to this and they're working with like local businesses or restaurants and they're like, there's no way I can charge my clients 500 grand no matter what I do for them. Great. Well, then now you know that if you want to do this and if you
Yeah,
want to
it's
have
true.
higher prices, you got to switch to a different client type, right? So it all kind of ties together. And I love how simple the formula is.
Yeah. Well,
Mm.
and they're like, well, that's really hard. It's just like, well, yeah, guess what? If you don't want hard, then go get a job. Like
Right. Yeah.
the other thing is choose your hard, So do you want your sales to be hard? Do you want marketing to be hard? Do you want it to be really expensive to generate a lead? Do you want having low profit margins because you're charging too low, and low cash flow because you can't charge enough upfront investments because your clients don't have enough certainty to be able to invest with you? Those are all hard problems too. And I
Either way.
promise
Yeah.
you, I think those are much harder problems than the difficult challenge of like going and entering a new industry that's going to pay you a lot more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I
So
think, yeah.
so choose your hard. That's just what I
Mm.
say. So just choose your hard. So maybe we should get in some examples of this too. So I alluded to Wally here, and Wally went from being able to from charging. He had a marketing agency, which is now positioned differently now. But so he had a marketing agency where their introductory offer was $2,500. Going through the irresistible offer the first time, this was some years back. So this was a different place where we were at, but he was able to get to 25,000, and then he was able to increase the 25,000. We really pushed him, keep going, to get to 100,000, and then the 100,000 he was able to get to a $200,000 offer, and now we're working on $1 million offer right now. This
Amazing.
is in its fourth iteration. This is not all about just the offer. This is about how Wally has chosen to develop himself into not just being a marketing, like just doing marketing, but developing the excellence to becoming an exit strategist specifically for the target market that he's working with. Now, they are still doing marketing, but he actually grew into this. So this was over time, but it takes some time to become the very best in your field as well. But if you already are really good at what you do, if you have some great cases, and Wally had to develop some of the case studies as he went along, right? But many of our clients come to us and say, we're raising money for these type of nonprofits, and we're helping them be able to raise this amount of money. It's different every time. I don't know if we can actually promise anything. That's almost always what they say. I can't promise anything because it's so different. Just like, yes, but like what kind of things could you control? And how do you qualify your clients up front? And you can say, hey, whether we can do this or not. And by the way, if like we raise $1 million of funds for you in the next 6 months, like you can't do that for everybody, but you could qualify them and say, hey, you know what? Based upon what you have here, we actually have another extra step here that we have to do, which is going to extend this. It's not going to be 6 months, it's going to be 12 months. And maybe it's even 18 months. So we can help you get to $1 million in 18 months. Is that okay? And they're like, well, yes, of course. And you built trust in that because they now see that you understand what generates results, what conditions need to be present. So the thing is your clients are not necessarily, they're not going to have a problem with you never have, like, one of the things that our clients oftentimes ask us before they join our programs is like, has this ever not worked? And I'll say, yes, absolutely hasn't worked. Here's why it won't work. And we'll share some of the conditions. It won't work if you don't have a good enough results already. So if you're starting out and you don't really know what you're doing and you haven't generated enough case studies, this is not for you yet. Think about this. Use this as your thinking to define where you're going to grow, but it's not ready for you. And like if you show up and don't actually like emotionally get into this, and if you choose not to be bold, if you're going to get scared and don't show up, it's not going to work for you, right? So there are conditions where it doesn't work under, and so we do our best to screen out those people that don't have what it takes to be able to do this. But anyone who has great results for their clients, who's willing to stand by bold results, and really wants to be the visionary in their company, they can make this happen. They can make it happen.
Yeah, I love that.
But they have to want it.
You have to want it. And I think honestly, a lot of people do want it, because I think a lot of people, if they're asked, I actually made a post recently in our B2B Facebook group recently. I said, hey, would you rather have 7 clients or 30 clients if you were both making the same, similar profit revenue either way? Most people were like, yeah, I'd rather have less clients, right? Because it's just more profitable and less to manage, right? Not everyone wants to manage 100 clients or 50 employees, right? You don't need to. But I think it's a great note that to end off on is exactly what you said, that like first step is you have to want it, and the second step is believe it's possible, right? Even if you don't know the how, and I like how you said the how virus, because I really believe this as well. If you get stuck thinking in how is it going to work, you're not going to try. You have to first believe I can do this, and let me just be creative on how it's going to be and how it's going to work later. But first, like, I'm going to figure out how to do this, and I think that's really empowering.
Yeah. You just have to choose it and say, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is what we're creating.
Yeah, and then just commit to it and make it work, and seek out like an expert like yourself to just help them craft that, right? So I appreciate you again hopping on the show. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I know you could talk about this for hours, and I appreciate you also giving your new book as a gift to the podcast viewers and Facebook group. So everyone listening, just look on the post below. If you're on the podcast, How to Scale an Agency, just look on the show notes, and we'll have a free copy for you. Just with the PDF, and I highly recommend you just download it right away, connect with Mandi, and like just put this to work, because it's so powerful, and the results are so insane. Just changing your offer changes everything. And again, thanks for hopping on the show, Mandi. And looking forward to the next time.